Hey, it's Warren Whitlock here, helping you with your emerging technology need. I, my mission is to help anyone I can accept technology faster to reduce friction in their lives and get more done. We have a better world when we make progress. The progress is going to happen faster than any of us can imagine that we want it. I'm not asking for better progress. I'm saying it's coming. Let's get ready. Let's do what we can. And today's topic starts with the question of whether or not we need human robots. Have you seen these? The robots that are going to be coming out anytime soon. They're mostly in demo. Last week, we saw a tour of a factory where they were working up to being able to build one robot per week. And then later he mentioned that the number they had built was still under 10. So it was very new, but the robots were just amazing in the demo. And of course, we know when we see these demonstrations that they don't necessarily always get the same results, that you're seeing the best of many takes, many tries to get that kind of an outcome. I still got to say, next year we're going to start seeing these around, and the market for it is predicted to be 10 billion. More humanoid robots than there are people. I know lots of people say they'd never want one, and I have to think back, how have we looked at this technology before? So, two items I want to talk to you about today. One, do, do you need it? Is it going to happen like they say? And the other one is, why do they need to be human shaped? So I asked on Twitter this morning, and the first response I got back, of course, had something to do with sex bots. Let's just leave that one alone and talk about, do you need a human shaped robot to do something for you? Best example, I'd love to have help in the kitchen. My kitchen was designed for a human to use. If I had a humanoid robot, the robot could then put the dishes into the dishwasher, take them out and stack them appropriately and do all that kind of work, could clean and do everything, but all the tools, everything about it are human shaped. Getting a humanoid robot to be able to do that seems like it could be a good idea. And are you going to be able to afford a robot in your house? Yes. Right now, they're predicting that robots mass produced are going to get down where it's going to be a cost of about $100 a month. Average American can afford that. It's far less than a car payment. I don't know if you have to pay insurance when you drive a robot, which is another thing. Are we driving robots? Yes. The automatic things that happen in your car have the same use case as AI technology. Let's go ahead and take the emerging technology off the table for a second and go back and say, when the automatic transmission came out, manual transmissions in cars were working just fine. And many say there's some advantages to it. There were some reasons where they wanted to be able to get people onto the automatic transmission. Just read about this, a study of the pros and cons of making everybody switch over to automatic transmission. I don't know if I agree with any of that or even recall what that analysis said, but yeah, when I was learning to drive, you of course learn how to drive a stick shift because maybe your cheaper car had that, or you could drive anybody's older vehicle. And then by the time I remember, by the time my kids were learning how to drive, most of them most of my kids and everybody else didn't want to get into a car unless it had an automatic transmission. Oh no, I don't know how to use that, to work that clutch thing that we just considered normal. I drove a stick shift for many years, and when I had a choice, I still thought it was better. But now it's not. It's just like no option there. And technology changed. That one was pretty slow. Let's look back at all the technology I know about. And you go to washing machines, I can remember that the using a machine that would soak and agitate your clothes a bit, and then draining that and rinsing it, and then it was fairly automatic by the time I came around. But then using a wringer, a device that would squeeze the clothes and two rollers together, and then putting them out on a clothesline. And I know I've been many places around the world in my life, and I know there's a lot of people where that's okay. I remember in Thailand, my clothes were washed in a tub and put out to dry. I haven't seen that where I live for a awful long time, and it's something that's normal now. So that's an easy one to start with that. The car is the same. People said that car's too dangerous. I'll stick with my horse. And there were plenty of people saying, telephone? No, I don't want to use a telephone. That's hard. They actually had people whose job it was to write down things, put it in a written form, maybe not even typewriter, and have it sent to the recipient who would have somebody open it up and read it to them. And so early phone calls, an executive would have one of his many assistants then make the phone call and convey the information as if it was a telegraph. And that led up to, again, when I was a kid, we got touch tone and people were saying they didn't need touch tone. We got mobile phones and people said I was crazy to use a mobile phone. We got smartphones and people said, I don't need all that stuff. Now, nobody has it. I was just hearing today about in corporate settings where they used to talk about whether or not they would allow employees to use their smartphones on the job. And what happened was you would actually be issued a phone from the company and you were to keep your own personal phone off or hidden or whatever and not use it for business. You would never give out your number to a work associate, to a vendor or customer, anything like that, and not your boss, because you don't want to get called on the weekend. Today, all of that's all of that's normal. Some people will talk about ills of it, but some of it is us adapting to how the technology works. And now, when I see the stats on AI, I get excited and say, ChatGPT came out and unleashed the AI that everyone was building and using. Not everyone, but everyone in that industry was using. And by putting a chat interface on it that was easy to ask a question and get a response, suddenly had 100 million users. Well, 100 million, 200 million out of the whole world still is not that many out of 8 billion. It's depending on which stats you look at, people are comfortable using AI anywhere from 5 to, I'll even say 50%. It's not that high. We've not reached the tipping point of being able to use that. When we come to the robot question, do you need one? Yeah, I think you're gonna end up getting one. Your car probably will be the best example. A car that can automate the driving will drive better than a human. The stats already say that. We've covered that many times before, that we're just about there, but we were all saying that 10 years ago. It's coming. And as the regulations allow it and people get used to it, that now we're seeing this happen. We're seeing cars driving themselves. And I was faced with it. How will I feel the first time I get into a self driving car? I take Ubers all the time. It took a tiny bit of getting used to that I'd have somebody driving me instead of me driving. And instantly, I like that. And I'm thinking the same thing about a automated vehicle. But then I stopped and think about it. It's just a couple of days ago. That first time I get in, I'm going to be afraid of what's happening. I'm going to be thinking, I'm not really sure. I can remember feeling that way. First time I got on a automated tram at an airport or many other things. It just that's where the fear of flying comes. Flying's much safer than driving, but we all have that idea of we're going to get in a large metal tube and go 30,000 feet in the air and not really knowing what we would do if something went wrong because we're pretty much in a theater watching our movie and there's not much else we can do. And now I enjoy flying just fine, but I do remember that fear of it being a new and unknown. I think automated cars would be, and then that's a robot. Now that's a robot that's not human shaped. It's still going to have all the same capabilities. AI is going to be there. Another person commenting on my poll this morning was saying that no, we've got AI in too many places. I don't want a robot coming into my house that's going to be able to supply big tech with even more ability to spy on me. And I just smiled and thanked them for their answer. But what I was thinking was, you don't know how they already know what you're doing on. If you have a cell phone and it's connected to a carrier, they know which tower you're near, whether or not you're using the phone. They know how much power is available in your phone, and they could turn on the microphone if they really wanted to. I do not think the conspiracy theory idea of this is total surveillance of us is there. We do it without thinking about it. People tell me they're afraid of what Twitter is going to know about them. Oh, by the way, I'm calling X Twitter for the time being. We don't, so don't get mixed up. If I'm talking about X or I'm talking about Twitter, it's the same thing because they haven't come up with a better word for tweets. So when I tweet that I'm sending something on the X.com platform, and even there, should I be accepting the new thing and doing what I can with it? Absolutely. I just heard that Elon Musk said something about X will be more of a video platform. And I said, okay, fine. Then can you leave the messaging on and let us use it and call it Twitter? But I said that, but Elon Musk doesn't listen to me. So don't expect that to be happening. But perhaps the video, the rant like I'm doing today, which by the way, if you haven't noticed, today's a rant. I'm not showing you any neat technology or website or a how to. I want to let you know that fundamentally, I've decided to do something about the majority of people being afraid of AI and in technology in general. But back to robots. I think the robots are going to be there. The idea that it could be surveillance is just the same as they could turn on a camera in your laptop. They could embed a camera in your TV. They don't. That's pretty easy to check. You tear the TV apart and you can see. I've seen inside of a TV. Mine doesn't have a camera, but they could offer you a camera and tell you that it's turned off and then surveil you all the time. Boy, that's every room of my house. There's plenty of ways for deep state to surveil you. There's also examples of people trying. In China, they're trying to do this. And I can talk about China as being not part of us because most likely no one in China can watch this video for various reasons. But even if they do, hi, China, let me know in the comments that you're here. But all of the social apps and the payment apps that we all depend on all report to the government. And China's got plenty of problems, but police state is not a new one. It's the same as it's been. Yeah, some of the new technology gives them some more tools, but the government is deciding how to react and what to do with that information. And yeah, we ought to be working at that. And to tell you what I see is most of the stuff I get that's talking about emerging technology, especially AI, is a majority talking about security and privacy. So there are people worrying about that. So you won't get that from me. I'm here to celebrate what we do have, how much better life is with these things if we learn how to use them to benefit us instead of fearing and then being slow to accept it. I've talked to many a person who told me they would never use email and they got left in the dust a long time ago. I remember the man who said that I fax everything. I write out a note and then I put it in the fax machine and it goes to somebody. No way I'm going to type it and send it on a. So, and yeah, how many faxes do you send a day? The better technology is going to win out and we're going to have it. So let's talk about these robots. If I was designing a robot, I'd go back to first principles. And let's ask the question, you want your dishes washed. Do you need a machine called a dishwasher and a robot to put the dishes in for you? No, just like the car does not need a robot sitting behind the wheel with the limited range of motion and no matter how good and fast the robot is, all the functions that a robot would do to drive can be put in a better place. The eyes can be put in a better place. The ears can be put in a better place. The speakers can be better mounted than having them on a humanoid form. But there are some things that it seems humanoid shape will help us as we convert. But I try to remember something I read about the far future I read this back in, it was just before 2000. It was talking about what the next 50 years would be like, going up to 2050. And one of the things it talked about was nanotechnology, something we don't talk enough about here, but there's a reason I don't know that much about it. I'm enamored by what it can do. I think I'm totally fascinated by the possibility that instead of building a robot to make a bed, you will have your bed made by itself. You get out of bed in the morning and you push a button or a sensor or a timing or whatever, and the bed is made. It is part of the design of the bed. Not really sure how to do that. Nanotechnology makes it possible that there are materials now that you can, with the push of a button, change something. The one that's just like it's easier to imagine is the bodywork on your car. Now, with self-driving, we'll have fewer accidents, but there will still be the chance that there's a dent in the car. How will you fix that? You put it in a mode of heal, and all the metal will go back to its original shape. Metal, I don't know, alloy, plastic, whatever that material is in the next 30 years. And of course, all of this design is going to be faster because of the technologies we have. That's why we're here. That's why I did the emerging technology series, this podcast, is to be able to discuss the ideas of how do we get ready and take advantage of these things. Let's stop thinking about whether or not a need a robot. We need AI. They're going to be here. You may not decide, you may decide that you don't want one in your house. That's okay. I have a very efficient lifestyle and I don't need a robot. Fine. I won't be with you thinking that I don't, I can see that. Just like saying you don't need a car or you don't need a cell phone. It's your choice. I don't watch TV, those kind of things. Those are all a choice that you can make. But they're going to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to avoid them because we go out in public, they'll be walking around because I want to get to where something I've always dreamed of, that I have somebody with me to be able to take care of things. There was that magic age when the kids were old enough to want to hang out with dad and be productive and do something, but young enough not to realize that they were my free slave labor. And sorry, kids, no, they weren't slaves, but they did stuff. The joke being that we used to have, when I was growing up, we had a remote control for we had voice activated TV. We just said, Warren, go change the channel. Somebody would do that, or stand by the TV and hold the rabbit ear so we can get a good picture. And you used humans to do that. And it's the same as make me a sandwich. Yeah, a robot will be able to make you a sandwich, maybe, better than the sandwiches you're getting now. But gosh, making a sandwich kind of is an experience by itself. Sometimes I want to choose exactly how my sandwich is made that day, get midway through and change the cheese because I want a little bit different flavor. I have one I make that I always microwave, so I'm eating it hot. Yesterday I had one and I didn't put it in the microwave. And when I realized that as I walked away from the kitchen, my first thought was, "Oh, no, this is gonna be horrible." Turns out it wasn't. It's basically the same thing, and I saved a minute microwaving. But we get to make those choices, but we need to get used to them being around, and we need to think about first principles of no matter what you're doing in your job, in your business, in your life, schools, shopping, everything. Think about where there's friction in your life, where there's something that no matter how hard you try, there's always three other things getting in the way and you can't get it done. And how nice would it be to have somebody right with you who didn't get an attitude when you told them to change the channel on the TV? Bad example because I have a remote now that I talk to, but have them go make you a sandwich, have them carry in the heavy box, which in my house is a big one because picking up something from the ground is something that I'm losing the ability to do. Still able to carry the weight, still able technically to be able to do it, but it hits the right part of my back. And I prefer not to pick up large boxes. And so I have cherished the idea that there will be a robot that does that. And I don't have to worry about, hey, how can I get one of the other people in my house to help me lift this package when it comes to the door. Yes, these are first world problems of an old man, but that's, you got to be thinking about that kind of stuff all the way. I've got to tell you, living a life of not going to grocery stores or shopping malls hardly ever, and being able to open up a computer monitor, click on a few things, and it arrives at my house, prepared food if I want it, groceries if I want that, groceries in bulk if I want to make a deal and I know I'm going to be eating a lot of that for the next month. And whatever I want to do, I get to control that at a moment's notice. So having a buddy to help me take care of some more chores would be great. And maybe with the extra time, I could lift some weights and walk some more, get some exercise in. Yeah, that's what they say. Anyway, but it will be what I want to do. And I hope you're thinking about that too. In business, you do want somebody else to send the mail, to open the mail, to read the mail, to write the responses, everything you can get somebody else to do. And it allows you to do the kind of thinking that really matters. Maybe it gives you the time to listen to me on the podcast, or maybe you get your bot to listen to my next podcast, and whatever it is you want to do. And so think about reducing friction, and where are those areas that have friction? If you can think of one I'm not talking about that, or a counter, or you want to show me why 10 billion robots is never going to happen, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'd love to talk to you. And we'll get you the next time on another episode of Emerging Technologies. Bye.